Hey guys, Micah from blackbearcustomkydex. I've got a video for you today on these 3 sheaths that I've just finished for these beautiful knives. This one up here is a Strider, although I don't know the model name, so if somebody happens to know, or Brian, my client, if you want to comment down below and let us all know, that'd be greatly appreciated. This guy here is the Spartan Blades Ronin Shinto. You get a closer look at all 3 of these knives here in a minute, but this one is produced by Spartan Blades, I believe designed by Tu Lam, who is a U.S. Special Forces, U.S. Army Special Forces Green Beret. Just an outstanding human being. Guys, you need to go check out, if you haven't already checked out Vigilance Elite, that's a great podcast by a Navy SEAL named Sean Ryan. His interview, his episode with Tu Lam was one of the best podcasts I've ever seen, and it really gives you an appreciation for how great our country is, and then also what kinds of things some of these guys who do special forces endure to get where they get in the military. So really humbling and just a beautiful podcast. You guys should check that out. So I think he designed this alone. I'm not sure if it was a collaboration or if Spartan just produces it or if they helped him design it. I don't really know. But Tu Lam has his hooks in this. It's a beautiful blade. You're going to see it in a second. Now this one comes from Spartan Blades as well and is by one of the most legendary knife designers on the planet, a gentleman named William Harsey. Amazing, and just a great gentleman. I've had the great fortune of just interacting with him briefly through a Facebook Spartan Blades group, as well as through a couple private messages. And yeah, he's just an outstanding guy, and obviously his designs are amazing. So let me start from smallest to largest and give you a real quick speed run of all the details and features. This guy is black Kydex, but it's got 500 denier Cordura nylon bonded over it, and it is black multicam for the pattern. The process I use to bond any kind of skin to Kydex is the same, whether it be Cordura nylon, full grain cowhide, or alligator hide. So it's a really successful process so far. I haven't had anything come back to me. I haven't had any complaints about material lifting off or debonding or anything like that. So it's been going really well. This stuff is just super rugged material. It's a very high quality nylon, which is why I chose it, because I don't want things fraying, scratching, snagging, whatever on you. I want them to last a lifetime if possible. So that's why I'm going with this. Now there are options out there for Kydex guys to purchase Kydex sheets that have nylon bonded to it. I would highly recommend that to any of you Kydex guys watching, that you don't waste your money on that stuff, and to any of you consumers watching, that you don't waste your money on that stuff. There are a couple big issues with it, in my opinion. The first of which is that the glue, I don't even think it's that good of a glue. I've had a couple of sheets that I've personally carried, and within a couple months, the glue starts to give and the edges fray and start to peel up. So it just seems really cheap and not that great to me. Another huge issue from a maker perspective is that once you start heating your material that has the skin on it, first off, your material is going to heat a lot slower, and you need to get it to a higher temp to get it to work the same way with the same level of definition. But then you're also going to be breathing in toxic glue fumes. It stinks to high heaven. It smells dangerous, and I'm kind of a rub dirt in it and super glue it shut kind of guy. I don't really fuss too much about chemicals and exposure and all that, but really, truly, with the adhesive that comes on that stuff, it's so bad, guys. Truly dangerous to breathe that stuff in. So I would recommend doing what I do, which is form your sheath, drill your holes, then put glue on the sheath and your material that you're going to be bonding to it, bond them, and press on. Seems to be a really good, reliable way of doing it. So anyway, all right, the fit on this is really nice. The one thing I'll say is that this paracord handle wrap creates some really steep and interesting contours on those knots and on these strands. So Brian, if you ever decide to take this paracord off to reweave it or anything, take a picture of it before you undo it and try to get it back as close as possible to where it is now, because the sheath is formed over that exact contour, and if you do anything to change that, it might affect the fit and the retention, so you don't want to do that. For now, got a nice smooth draw. It's got a good click in, and it ain't gonna fall out on you. It's really secure in there. The carry setup is a pair of molly locks. These are spaced at 1.5 inches. It's on a floated plate so that you can get that 1.5 inch spacing, and then you can also turn it sideways, take the mollies off, and remount them this way. Just make sure you go in intervals of 1.5 inches. So go through holes 1 and 3, or 1 and 5, or 2 and 4, 2 and 6. Either one of those, any one of those combinations will work compatible with molly webbing spacing. So there you go. It is also ambidextrous. And it's very easy to change from left to right hand, or right to left, I should say. So you want to just back the male screws out. Don't put pressure downward and hold it in place while you unthread it, because that'll kick the female end out the backside. You want to actually just gently back the male screws out, and then you can actually just hold the plate in your hand while you separate them. Flip your knife over 180 degrees, just as it is right now, and stick it right back up. The drill hole spacing is symmetrical, so it'll fit on either side of the sheath, and you don't even have to remove your mollies to transition. So that's a real huge bonus. All right, this is the Ronin Shinto from Spartan Blades. Check this thing out. Just unbelievably beautiful. Awesome handle scales. They're very comfortable, and a beautiful blade with this nice recurve. It's got a choil. It's got a little saddle on top. I'm not totally sure what the function is. Maybe it's just to help distribute the bulk of the weight toward the tip, so you get a little bit more of a chop or slash kind of power. I don't really know. If anybody's got some insight into that, I would love to hear it. But yeah, you can just see this beautiful, just a beautiful blade. As far as the fit goes, really nice. Make sure when you put this in, though, that you don't allow the spine of your knife to ride high into the sheath, because you wind up with this little bottom out issue with your scales smacking against the outside of the thumb ramp. Rather keep your scales a little bit low, and it's got a great click in. No rattle, no play. Excellent retention, and a ballistic one-handed draw. It was actually pretty tough to get that, because as you can see, this part of the blade needs to be able to draw through this part of the sheath down here, where it's going to end up being collapsed because there's no blade, there's nothing there. So I came up with a technique using some aluminum flashing and some clay and tape to just get it all to stay in there, get nice flat top to it, so it kind of gives you the false effect that the blade shape looks like this, with the grind going all the way down and straight across, straight blade down here rather than recurved. So it almost looks like more like a drop point or spear point knife if you're just looking at the sheath, but clearly you've got this beautiful recurve on there. So that's one of the things I do spend a lot of time on, is prepping knives to make sure they come out nice. Now the leather on here I've also done, if you're interested to know, it's 3.5 ounce leather. I don't know exactly what that translates into for millimeters. I think it's about 1.5 millimeters thick, but that's thick enough where it gives you that kind of rugged but warm and soft feel to it. But it's thin enough where it actually can take a lot of these contours of the Kydex beneath it, so it gives you a lot of definition, which I think is just aesthetically really pleasing. And it also simultaneously is better in one empirical sense, that you get full surface contact, so you don't have any areas where the oxygen and the air trapped in there, or moisture that gets trapped in there, could eat away at the glue and kind of create an expanding problem of the glue detaching the leather from the Kydex. So full surface contact means a longer and stronger bond. This one also has integral edge stitching. Now these are actually drill holes that go all the way through the leather on both sides, as well as the Kydex itself. You can actually see through right there through that starter hole. And I use a process called saddle stitching, which is kind of a traditional leather edge stitching technique. So I think it looks really nice, but just to be fair, it is 99% an aesthetic function. It technically strengthens your edges, but not in any meaningful way that regular use would ever indicate. So I don't want to advertise it as somehow stronger edges because of that. So you guys get my drift. So all right, now the carry setup. Well, actually, I'll hold that for just a second. Let's look at this one, American Hornback Alligator. This is formed from the alligator flanks. This is the side of the gator rather than the top where you have all the spines. The reason I went with this is because the spines are actually really hard material and they're super thick. So they would be overlapping some of these eyelets, and that would actually create a real big issue with not only locating the eyelet after bonding the gator to it, so you'd be just kind of digging holes, playing a guessing game, and making your sheath look like like hot garbage. But you'd also be dealing with the issue of those spines being too wide for any eyelet to actually fit through all of this and pin it shut. So that's the biggest consideration. Why I went with the flank instead of the back skin. But I still love this. This is my favorite look. Alligator over Kydex is just that beautiful rugged texture. It's not as soft or as vulnerable as cowhide is. So you don't get the same level of like scratching or anything. You can run your fingernails on this and you're not going to do it any damage. But at the same time, you get all the same kind of warm and soft to the touch benefits that leather can give you. So it's more rugged, but it also kind of has all the same softer qualities as regular leather. It's a beautiful, beautiful look in my opinion. All right, so Gator over Kydex in a nutshell. All right, now the carry setups for both of these are identical. These are what I would call a tech lock clasp dangler. It's a dangler that locks into your tech lock so that if you have a sheath on a tech lock, you can instantly transition between having it on that tech lock on your belt or having your belt and the dangler. So transition between a tech lock or a dangler essentially very quickly. It also is by default an ambidextrous setup because the tech lock can mount to either side of the sheath. Now you also have one additional feature on this carry setup, which is a pivot plate for the tech lock. Now that allows you, let's say you have it on your belt as a dangler, you want to switch to a tech lock. All you need to do is open that tech lock up and separate it. Leave this right on your belt where it's at. It doesn't need to go anywhere, but then you can instantly carry this on the tech lock. Now it's in a horizontal carry position right now. Personally, I wouldn't do that with a knife this size. Maybe you're of the same mind and you want to carry this vertical. All you have to do is turn that tech lock and all of a sudden you've got a vertical carry. And of course, everything in between. It is a 90-degree rotation and you can remove your tech lock and actually remount it 90 degrees off, which gives you the next 90. So you have 360 degrees of options. You just might have to remove the tech lock to reposition it to get the next, what's it called? Oh, geez. Why am I losing my train of thought here? The next 90 degrees, we'll just say. All right, so that's very simple. You can also tighten or loosen the tension by just tightening or loosening these screws so that the resistance on the pivot is higher or lower. I really like it where it's at. It's stiff enough that it's not just going to get bumped and rotate on you, but you can actually just move it back if you need to. On the flip side, it's not too tense, so you can rotate it without the use of any tools. Likewise, to the Strider, both of these are ambidextrous by way of having a mirror image plate for the opposite side. Sometimes I can do it with one plate that's symmetrical. In these instances, both of these required a second plate for each one. So, Brian, if you ever do decide that you want to mount the tech lock and the dangler to this side of your sheath, you just grab this plate here. Just make sure it's lined up the same way as the one that's on it. In this case, I know that groove has got to go up top. I cut it out specifically so that you can be able to fit it into this groove on the handle, which, by the way, also helps to get your tech lock closer to the handle and give you a more balanced center of or center balance point for a more comfortable carry, in my opinion. All right, guys, that is all I've got for you. But let me know what you think of these sheaths. Let me know what you think of my invention, the tech lock clasp dangler. I know there's at least one other guy out there doing this. He's copying me and renaming it his own thing to obscure that fact, which I just think is despicable. So I won't comment too much on that, but that's, whatever. It's my invention, and I'm proud of it. And then, of course, the pivot plate, which there are a few guys out there doing this. It's just an awesome idea. I wish Blade Tech would come up with something like that, but if they did, maybe it wouldn't be universal enough to get custom mounting points and all that. So for the time being anyway, I will continue to form my pivot plates the way that I've got them now. But all right, guys, let me know in the comment section down below what your opinions are of Strider and of Spartan Blades. Let me know what you think specifically of the Ronin Shinto and this beautiful Harsey Blade Model 1. This is a bigger version of the Model 2, which is almost identical to the Defensa, minus the little swedge up top and this little harpoon feature. But just an excellent all-around knife. I think only about 250 of each, the Model 1 and Model 2, were made. So they're very difficult to get. And I'm so lucky that I own a Model 2 thanks to my buddy Troy. Troy sent me his to do a sheath for it. And then after getting the Sheath back in the mail and talking a little bit more, he ended up selling me the Model 2 because he knew I really wanted it. So Troy, if you watch this, brother, thank you so much. That Model 2 is definitely in my top 2 or 3 favorite knives of all time, and I just continue to enjoy it and be blessed by it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you. I hope you enjoyed these knives and these sheaths and this video. If you did, hit that like button. If you like the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell if you want to receive notifications anytime I upload new content. And of course, I hope you would share this out with your friends. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on this stuff. And of course, tune in for the next one. All right, guys, see you soon. God bless.